Done. Local file, custom rate, control audio with maybe it's this. Hello, can people hear us? Let's try this. Okay, so I'm hearing. Okay, great. Perfect. Right. Okay, I can hear myself on the Twitter now. On Twitter. So hello, welcome to the podcast, the Derbied One. Great to have you on. Yeah. So we're here to chat about your strategy in the OVR metaverse, about the music festival in Paris that we're doing with Leicester, and all the rest of that great stuff. So welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
I am doing very well. I'm in Los Angeles, so it's 9 a.m. Saturday morning. I figure, since I'm newer to the OVR community, although I've been interested in OVR for a while, I only started becoming an active part of the community. I figured I kind of introduce myself just a little bit deeper. So my background, I'm actually in film. I come from a producing directing background in film, mainly independent films, nothing big, nothing you've ever heard of. It's had been a struggle, though I have one project it's kind of my last stand in Hollywood, so to speak. I have one project that's our team is pitching and we're getting some traction, but if you weren't aware, one big TV show or film sometimes can take 10 years before you get someone to bite, someone to give you money, because we need $70 million to make it. So it's not a small ask. But then a few months ago, a friend of mine got deep into NFTs. He's also a former filmmaker, and he's someone I've known for over 10 years. And he had been trying to get me into NFTs in general. And I told him I need to do some research. So I did literally hundreds of hours of research on Web3, on NFTs, on the metaverses. And I've found that I actually, because of this research, I know more than some people that have been in NFTs for 6 months or been in the space. I mean, I'm not by any means an expert, because only 3.5 weeks ago, a month ago, I started getting tangible experience. That's when I started buying my OVR land. That's when I bought my first NFT, and I experienced the community, and I started getting to know kind of who's who, and what's what a bit more from a more tangible experience rather than just it being knowledge based. And doing all of this, I always had a creator mindset. I wanted to come in and create my own NFTs, my own storylines, my own communities, and be a part of communities that I enjoy already, um, like OVR, things I see myself in, things that interest me personally in the space. And so I'm there, and I'm currently actually already working on two different NFT projects. One's a very tiny launch of just 9 NFTs, just because my smart contract guy, he's someone I've known for 15 years, but he's new to coding Solidity and getting into it. So we're just going to test out the smart contract, see if it works. And then with that exact same person and his business partner, we're actually releasing a bigger launch, which are going to be comic strips based on their experiences trying to create a decentralized internet.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that's
that's amazing.
my background. That's where I'm at. Go ahead.
There's a lot to decompact there, so we'll start towards the beginning. You said that you're from LA. You're in these films. Could you tell us a little bit more about these projects that you're in?
Yeah, I actually, so I'm 45, right? And I've been honestly a starving artist my entire life, and I'm kind of like I'm over it. So with film, I have one last project that I'm working with, and if it doesn't go, if it doesn't happen by I think the year is 2024, which is a very arbitrary number, if it doesn't really like happen, then I'm done with Hollywood. And it's time for me to just kind of move on. I'll probably always make a short film or a movie for YouTube, or maybe eventually the NFT space, or something along those lines.
So, are you a
But the
director
show,
or an actor, or what's your role in these films?
and so in this particular project, it's called Concepcion. I created it. I'll be producing it, and I will also direct an episode here and there as it gets made. The producing title is actually it's called a showrunner, and they basically help make all the creative decisions and manage the people and manage the finances behind the scenes that help to make the movie or the TV show. And they and like my co-showrunner, he's gonna be our head writer. He's gonna develop the story, and I'm gonna help develop the look and make sure it all is the same. Because TV, every episode there's a different director. Sometimes there's a different director of photography. So everybody's always got to be on the same page. Um, so
Uh,
yeah, like when I consider things, I always like I'm a visionary type thinker. Whether I'm right or wrong about my vision, that's always up to debate. And I've been proven wrong many times. So when I say I'm a visionary type thinker, I say that with no ego at all. It's just the way my brain works. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, it's a good way to describe it. I'm filled with 100,000 ideas all the time racing through my brain, and it's with Dream
Me
Collab,
too.
just focusing in on one has really sort of helped me nail down what I want to do and where I want to see this going. And it doesn't stop the big rush of like ideas and innovations. Like just when you were speaking, then I was just thinking about how you could make this like make instead of filming a scene, maybe film like a 3D film that you could actually like walk around in OVR and watch it unfold from different angles and stuff like that. I've just got it's just things like that. I just get 1,000 million ideas that I just can't bring into reality just yet. But I'd definitely be interested in seeing if someone could do that at some point. Um, but
Let's
yeah,
talk about that for a second. How does that? Go ahead. I was just gonna ask how that would work in your brain, because
so so
like,
in
what do
my
you?
in my
How
brain
would?
it'd be like a either like a lidar scanner or to like do like a 3D film or 3D like image shots or something like that maybe, um or you could animate it and do like a voiceover, that kind of thing. And then I guess it would be like a series of like animated, maybe a GLTF file or something like that, but it'd probably have to be a longer sequence if you wanted to make a full show out of it. So it'd take a little bit of viewing on that, but I don't know. In terms of camera setup, if you know how you usually you have like a 3 or 4 camera setup, don't you, to film scenes? Is that right?
Yeah, it's between 1 and 3,
Yeah.
depending on a ton of different factors. But yeah.
Yeah, but then you can pin. So when they do like the videos or like animated films for with the ping pong balls on like the green suits and stuff like that, you could scan it up like that and do like an animated version maybe, to track the body movements and then bring that into the 3D space and then fully allow people to walk about inside the film, which is a bit surreal, really. But again, this is just off the
You
top of
know,
my head, so I apologize.
no, 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 because it's actually possible. The reason I asked, because I wanted to see if we were talking about the same thing. If anybody listening or yourself, Dream Club, like if you want to look up 4dfun.io, It is a 4D volumetric capture green screen. So it creates VR and augmented reality experiences just like you spoke about.
So just for the
Except it
viewers
all
at home, is that four as in FOUR or four as in the
so
number?
four yeah 4D. So 1D, 2D,
Yeah.
3D, 4D. Because they call it 4D. They're not calling it 3D. Because I experienced it. Like I went to that because they're based in Los Angeles, right? And I have a friend that works there, and I got a tour of the space. I got to experience some of the creations they've done. It was pretty awesome, and like I'm going back next week. Like I was only supposed to be there for an hour, but 6 hours later I left. Like I just got in deep conversations with the owners. We all like vibed. We were all like see things creatively in a very similar type of way. So it's definitely, you know, they're not. They have an interesting business model, which I've signed an NDA. I can't really talk about, but so they're not ready to fully go to market, but they are. I will say regularly like filming, and they're filming celebrities already, and filming famous American musicians at least. Um, so they're going to do a big launch, and my one of my goals is to get them interested in OVR and have them interact with the space at some point. Uh, but I'm just building my relationship with them, so it'll take a minute.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm just on their website now, and they've got a lot of the sort of vaporwave aesthetic on the scenes page, and I was just having a little click around the site, and they seem to have some great facilities. And if this is something that they even it doesn't have to be a full feature film or something, but like a little 30-second test to test whether it's actually possible to make like a short little skit and for the OVR metaverse could be quite interesting.
Yeah, we've actually already spoken about that. Like when I was there, I came up with the exact same idea because like I'm a director, so I'm like, oh, what if we just place two actors on a bench, and then we shot it, and then you could place that experience anywhere in any metaverse, ultimately, right?
Mm.
So you could just put it on OVR and just imagine like somebody's walk with their glasses eventually just walking down the street and they randomly see this scene happening on this AR bench. It might be kind of fun,
Yeah.
interesting. And the interesting another cool part about what they do with their experiences is it's not only like a VR AR experience, although they say they're focused on VR with the ability to eventually do AR. So that's their but not only do they have those experiences, but those experiences also get turned into NFTs that can be bought and resold. And they're artist focused. So like the creators get 65% on the smart contract and on the initial sell for the rest of their lives. And then the studio itself gets 25%, and then like an agent, so to speak, or someone that brings in like me, I would get 10%.
Oh yeah,
Unless I created.
fantastic. Yeah, all this sort of stuff sounds incredible, and it sort of brings it back to like especially with OVR to more of a community based experience. So like we've kind of
Right.
been separated with like the invention of the TV and internet and like video games. We've sort of been like isolating ourselves, but bringing back the ability for people to go out into town, and it might not be like an old Roman amphitheatre, which the one in Manchester has been absolutely heaving with people recently because they've had like music there. But like being able to replicate that around the world and try and fight back against this sort of like social isolation and bring back these sort of like community events sort of thing, whether that's in the digital metaverse, which is definitely, well, whether it's the cheaper option or whether it's at the moment at least it'll be the more entertaining options because people will be able to interact with it, and they can already view it, and they can go sit in the park and enjoy these experiences as part of like it's like a real social network as opposed to just name on the screen. Does that make sense?
Right.
Or,
It does.
it would
I'm
be.
all about it.
Yeah. I love that's one of the biggest things that I like about OVR is just bringing the video games and the content outside and away from the screens, and sort of I like the idea of, even though you've got that sort of digital interface between you and the outside world, you're also in the outside world. You're not behind a screen like we like we are. We are at the moment. We could actually have
Right, right.
this conversation out and about, and people could come, and maybe we're the blokes sat on the bench having an interesting conversation that people want to come and join, or different things like this. So I that's what interests me. And the practical uses of OVR, of having this digital layer that sort of encompasses the globe, that you can tune into and get access to tailored content for that location, is something that is just I just think is going to be fantastic. And once people start waking up to it, they're really going to it's really going to come into its own. Yeah, so any sort of content creation like that, like this 4D fun.io's seems to be in a very good position to be able to do this kind of thing and bring this kind of content and enjoyment to the hearts of many. So great.
Agreed. Like I'm so fascinated by this world, and I love the ability to just create new things that haven't existed before, or your own spin on something, with new technology that already exists. Like yeah, I'm I can't wait. Like my team's just getting in, but I think we're all ready, and I have some very interesting creative minds, and like we're gonna have a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely. And I hope that we met the other week. Well, it was like last week or something. We had a few little chats on the DreamKollab Discord server, and our Telegram group chat, which
Uh-huh.
we're starting to build a great community. And I think as we sort of move out and we start speaking to, and our relationships with like Art Sect creative group and Artobotic, as these start to sort of develop and expand, we'll really start to bring in more great content, have more talent on the DreamKollab website, have some fill out the metaverse, and bring more of like the end users into the metaverse. Because I've had a little look at other sort of technologies that have had a similar impact, where I believe that the augmented reality metaverse will go, which is like the radio, the television, and like the internet and this kind of thing. And I believe it's probably going to track most similarly to like the television, apart from everybody's already got a smartphone in their pocket, so that like the the step into the market, the barriers to entry are lower than the television. But where the television had a lot of issues in getting enough content for people to think it, um, they struggled to make enough content so that people would want to buy a television. And so it was like the chicken and egg situation. It's like, okay, are we going to spend more money on content, or are we going to spend more money on, um, like we need to spend more money on content, but we're not getting the revenue, we're not getting the views that we need to make this extra content. And I think as we see it now, it's like there's not enough content out there to support all these big chains and big like producers, and to come into the sector. But that's great for people like you and me. Like I'm not like DreamKollab isn't some big corporation. We haven't got like a monopoly on anything. We're very like grassroots sort of business who are very intrigued by the possibility of the metaverse, and hopefully will expand as it alongside this industry. But yeah, we really want it to track faster than the television and faster, and there's a lot of opportunities for small independent like content creators such as yourself and 4D Fun and Osivox and Zayuku and all these like small little like or smaller artists that, like, I don't know how big or small Fun for 4D Fun is, and you are and stuff like this, but I really see this as a great opportunity to build something that will expand with the market. And we're still very early, but I
Yeah.
don't think I think it will come round faster than you think. I don't think it's going to, once people start clocking on and our phones sort of like catch up, and like we're seeing all these AR glasses come out, and they're not quite there yet, but as soon as there's that bit of hype beast behind us, like it will just go straight, like the VR space, which has completely exploded recently in the past year or two, especially over the 2020. We'll see this huge boom, and so it's good to get your name out there now, and welcome to the community.
Thank you. I like the hype behind it is definitely building, but I think the one thing that is missing from both AR and VR is the utility of using it. Like in my mind, it can be used as escapism. Um, I don't personally want to go into a VR space and find myself having to clock in at a job. Do you know what I mean? Like that does not sound like fun to me. Um, and I think that's like how and why are people going to live in AR and VR on a regular basis? Uh, it's like the question of, if you didn't have to work, if you did not have to make money, if it just wasn't a thing in the world, what would you be doing with your time?
I
What are you gonna do?
Well, so in terms of like escapism, I agree that VR augmented reality is definitely escapism. But I also think that augmented reality has a lot more to it, a lot more practical world uses.
Agreed.
Um,
Agreed.
which is, yeah, because having that sort of digital layer, like whether you're trying to, like, Google Maps have integrated AR into their maps, and it sort of created a de facto metaverse within the Google Maps app. But also,
Right.
you can see the shops around you. Like, realistically, what else are they going to show you? Like, apart from what's already around you, maybe some ads to like the nearest McDonald's that's like 200 meters away or something like that. But I don't see that as ever becoming sort of like the hub of like content and what people would want to sort of like see and sort of get entertained. Whereas with OVR, I can see it being like, oh, your local five-a-side football pitch is now has got like a stadium in AR surrounding it, and so now you've got like like 5 to 10 year olds, like even teenagers, sort of like pretending they're like Cristiano Ronaldo or
Yeah.
something like that, and you can have like sort of get, it's like playing FIFA, and but like you're actually doing the sport. You're not just working out your thumbs. You're running and you're scoring, and you've got like the big crowd atmosphere going, or at least perceived to be, because it's not like these AR glasses are flimsy. Like, the first practical use of the AR glasses that has like been used commercially is for large infrastructure projects like engineering, and getting all these, and like integrating them into like hard hats. And so, because they're like built for, or at least a lot of them have been built for, like being robust and being able to be like hit on site or whatever, whilst you're building, some sort of like massive project, whether that's like a giant ship or you're like doing like a pipeline or something like that, you like these glasses have the capability of just being strong enough that you can use them in sport applications. So
Hmm.
instead of your phone, maybe you've got like a little perspex sort of like glasses or something that's a bit lighter weight than the construction ones, but like you're just reflecting light at the end of the day off like some sort of see-through glass. So like if you're driving an Audi, you've got AR integrated into it. It's just like shows you the maps and it shows you the speed that you're going at, and it's a very simple that side. What's the difficult part is relaying the data onto those headsets in a way that is fast and people can access the internet and sort of like interactive. That's the difficult part. And initially, that will probably be like via Bluetooth or something from the phones. But the at the end of the day, I don't think what I think once these products have had the time to mature, there'll be sport applications like so like in practical terms, like maybe you can track where the ball's going and you can sort of see where like you can sort of like map out where you are, and like you can see how to like how to improve your shot and like what went wrong and stuff like this, and it can be really used as like a training aid that way. In terms of edutech as well, it's like you can maybe if we could like push, well, we can definitely do this already. I've done some testers, but like you can get like complex systems, so like whether that's engineering systems, like let's say you're building an engine and you can just like split it apart and then you can watch it reassemble at your own pace, so you can see
Right.
how the components work with each other.
Yeah.
So the first
There's
time,
definitely some real practical situations to use with AR versus VR.
yeah, I
V-
definitely, and then content like with you, it's like obviously marketing is going to be huge. Like content creation's massive at the moment. Anyway, content is king. And so like bringing the community back outside, bringing like improving learning, like for like STEM sciences and stuff, like teaching them like complex stuff in a more simple way that they can grasp in front of them instead of like just reading a bit of text that someone's tried to write as best to explain it as possible, but you can't really get the full explanation from text when well, at least it's better to see the mechanism like in front of you than try and decompress someone who's tried to compress their perception of what is happening in one of these complex systems like biology into text, and then you're decompressing that into real life. There's like a lot of room for miscommunication there, which maybe we could alleviate through like edutech and AR and this kind of thing. Um, yeah, so that's my little rant.
yeah. No, I love it. There's so many. There's going to be so many uses for AR, and I think depending on how the VR lands also shape. Like I heard a theory, or I heard someone say this phrase, and I was like, oh, it really resonated with me, and that VR could be just like extended consciousness. If you want to get into like a spiritual like point of view, like what is something you always wanted to do in your real life, but because of various circumstances you weren't able to. So maybe you could be that person or that type of person or whatever it is in VR. Like I've seen studies like I actually, and then also on a therapeutical level, like I saw like a grandma, 60s, 70s, and in VR, she was a younger woman, and it affected her mentally in her day to day, uh, quote unquote, meat space life. Like like how she acted and reacted and felt about things was she felt younger. So it's super could
That's
be
it. That's
interesting,
interesting.
and as it grows, it's going to change a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy that you said. I don't know why, but like the experiment where they do like they've got like a fake hand in front of you, and then your hand's hidden behind the screen, and then they sort of like
Right,
tickle your real hand until like you think that the fake they sort of tickle both hands together, and then you get the illusion that it's the fake hand's your hand. I
right,
and then they get the hammer out, and then it completely freaks people out because they're like, "Oh my god, I thought that was my. I genuinely believe that that plastic hand that I knew was plastic in the beginning was my hand." And yeah, it's kind of I don't know why it just sort of reminded me of that, which is great. I don't know why I brought that up.
it's like your brain doesn't know any different, right?
It's
They don't.
the
It
brain's
doesn't
sort of
know
plug
any
and play,
different.
isn't it? It's like you give it something and it gives it time to learn, and if it's sort of young enough, it sort of like really quickly adapts to it. And then as we sort of get older, it gets harder and harder to like plug and play because our mind gets gunked up with a load of other old stuff that's a bit out of date. Um,
Right.
and
I
sorry,
yeah. I mean, I love the play to earn model because I think, despite I said VR could be escapism, I
it
I
doesn't mean
think
it's
there could be
bad.
better uses for VR than just escapism, and definitely earning, like creating a new economy for people, create generational wealth, help third world countries kind of come up economically with the use of AR and VR and NFTs. I think is an amazing use case, and it's being done on some levels, but I think it could be expanded, and like that's a personal passion of mine. So I'm half Filipino, so my mom's side of the world isn't exactly a rich country. Um, so like I really think about that as I'm growing. Like, how can I help, or how can whatever I create help a third world country come up? How can we like dramatically affect lives beyond just entertainment? Um, what? There's so many things that are possible.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this as well, and I run
I love that.
another separate company that I run is a Christmas tree company. We just
Uh
do
huh.
like it's called treetome.co.uk. We just do Christmas tree delivery. Well, we started it in the pandemic when people couldn't really go outside. We were a bunch of like mid-20s, like had city jobs and that sort of thing. But we were like, right, okay, well, seeing as it's the pandemic, we'll do sell Christmas trees, and as a result of that, I've sort of like we were doing like plant 3 Christmas trees for every one bought, and sort of like teamed up with this company called Tree Nation, who are very like they're a very very good company. They're like a multinational sort of charity with a great API that automatically with every fiat purchase on the website, it will automatically plant a tree. And
Oh, nice.
so that's one way, but I'd like to keep that sort of space of like maybe put aside like 50p out of every sale or like a percentage out of every sale, to then like go towards these sort of good causes, because there's so much stuff out there that needs to be done, and having that sort of revenue stream, especially if OBR plans out and everybody wants to use it, and then there's like all these other ones, we can sort of like layer these different levels of augmented reality metaverses, which will be like I essentially see like your phone or your glasses having like the equivalent of like Sky or like a TV channel where you've got like BBC, Sky One, BBC, ITV, what's it, PBS, and all this sort of other things. I feel like eventually it will grow out to something along those lines, but instead of watching it on a TV screen, it will just be your perception of the metaverse, and like what location you're in will determine what content you have access to, but also it'll also be determined by what channel you're streaming into. And so as it's going to grow like this, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity if we get there at the beginning and sort of say, right, okay, we're dedicating X to these good funds to like really not only help ourselves but help other things around. And like, I don't want to say, oh, I'm a amazing guy or whatever, because at the end of the day, yes, like I I am a business person, I need to do this, but if
Sure.
it's not, if it works and it's easy to implement, which Tree Nation is, then I don't really see the issue in putting it out there and putting it as like, and just sort of integrating it in. And so if there's other things that we can do, well, at the moment, I'd like to follow up with Tree Nation. But as we sort of like grow and develop, maybe if we get like a few 100,000 sort of people a day, we can do like a rotation thing between these different charities with APIs and stuff like that. Just plug it, because if I can just make it so it's like plug and play, and then just like, right, okay, well, we'll direct the funds here, we'll direct the funds here, da 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 da, or even allow the sellers to pick which one they want it to go to. Then it's no, is it no skin off my back? I think that's the phrase. No water. So it's yeah, it could be having a platform like this could be really interesting for me as someone who's was either going to settle down and like in like a nice job, but I kind of wanted to push the boat out a little bit with and follow this crazy dream that people thought were crazy, but I think it's actually going to play out, and then I'll be the one laughing. But yeah, so
I agree. I agree. And during that I had an interesting thought, because one idea I've always had in my head as I was studying metaverses and NFTs and DeFi and all of it is to create a money tree. So, like, literally a tree that if you know how to interact with it, it gives you crypto. So imagine a charity where something like your company, it plants a real tree, but it also plants a money tree in AR in a third world country or in a poor neighborhood of the world somewhere, and people can interact with it and get money. Like, I don't know
I like
how
the concept.
possible that is,
I like the
but
concept, but I
I
think
think it's there.
the first thing that I'd say is like, how do I know that the people doing it, like, if I was a malicious actor, I'd want to just seize control of it, and then I've just got this
That is
sort of
correct.
cool.
So
It's
the
just,
code would have to be like undeniable.
so
Like,
Cardano's been working on this issue for a while now. That could be like I think one of their ambitions is to sort of like help regulate the funds that go into some of these countries, or at least give a tool to the people so that they know where the funds are going, so that they don't just disappear and someone legs it with a few £100 million, or that was meant to be donated to the people for a certain cause. And so Cardano has been, well, they've had like hundreds of papers. They've taken a really meticulous academics perspective on building a cryptocurrency. So there's definitely something that might arise in the future through that platform.
right. Because, like, there's also, I mean, because there are NFTs that you can yield farm through. There are NFTs that you can store crypto coin inside of and let it earn interest for you.
Mm.
So those type of things already exist. So someone, you know, needs to put it into AR somehow, like have an AR NFT, be able to store that NFT, and then through Unity Engine or something, like be able to interact with it to give you money. I don't really have any idea how to do that. I'm nowhere near a developer, but I just have like
Yeah, no,
I
I
don't know.
like,
That's just how my brain works.
yeah, I'm not like, I like talking about ideas. Ideas are like
Yeah, me
what
too.
brings us sparks to me. So like, yeah, when I sort of like try and pick at this, it's not that I'm looking at it the perspective of like, how can I make it work, and what flaws do I have to overcome, or like what hurdles do I have to overcome to make something happen. So I really like the idea of like a money tree. I think worst case scenario, it would get overtaken. And
Yeah,
I don't.
currently, like I wouldn't have any idea how to defend against it.
Yeah, you'd have to.
But
I think you might have to put actual troops in if you did like did it in OVR, or just get rid of it. I think the best framework would be to do a fintech sort of thing where the people benefit, as opposed to having like a. It's a bit like capture the flag otherwise, and I don't I don't like the sound of that really. Um, but
yeah, neither do I.
there's
Yeah,
there's
I
definitely
def- yeah, because like I got in a I did a Twitter Spaces with Artabots, Art I the guy who makes the NFT vending machines.
oh yeah,
Um,
Autobotic, yeah, he's
Artabotic, yes, that's
yes,
it.
he's a great chap.
Yeah, we started chatting yesterday on Twitter Spaces, and like one, because like I had the idea. I also like my brain. I used my imagination. I came up with the idea of a NFT vending machine before I knew about his company and before I ever bought an NFT. Just as I was studying, and so as soon as I saw it, I was like, I messaged him like, dude, like I thought about this once. And so him and I got in a discussion about it, and I said, another thing that could be created is a imagine an NFT ATM. So inside of the ATM is a liquidity pool. So you could store your NFT in that liquidity pool, almost like depositing it into a bank account, and it creates interest for you. Or you can put your NFT in there and liquidate it and pull out crypto. So I don't know how possible that is, but I think the thought process is there, and I'm trying to like I have a liquidity pool friend who seems to know a lot about it. And I really want to discuss it with him and see if it's like even in the realms of possibilities. But it's just another use case for OVR or any VR. Just have them floating around and
Yeah,
like create more opportunities to interact with NFTs rather than just going to OpenSea or whatever your platform is and buying one. You
yeah.
know?
So I've been exploring with my brother's like a very good like Java developer, and I sort of like started trying to teach myself Solidity, and he came in and he was just like, he just sort of like, oh, this is very similar to Java, and within a month he's been able to both learn the code and build 90% of my smart contract, which it was meant to be finished on Thursday, but he's literally on the last bit now. So we've got a smart contract that prints other smart contracts, and so it's like an escrow account, and then people's individual funds for each transaction on DreamKollab get stored into the separate one. So we sort of we had to learn that, oh yeah, you can have a smart contract that automatically prints out these extra blocks on the blockchain, and how to do that. And by learning that, it opens up a whole host of other possibilities of, oh, actually,
Wow.
how can you link all these together, and like, oh, can so you the way that our smart contract works is that you can't manually change like each individual like child contract. So you've got like the parent and the child. The parent completely controls everything's got to be controlled from that contract, but no money's stored in that main contract. It's all stored in like each individual contract. So you've got, yeah, so people will be able to see that their money's in a certain location, and it will correspond to their order on DreamKollab when they pay. And they're just waiting for like the buyer and the seller to like finish their part. Well, the buyers like put their money in there, waiting for the seller to accept. If the seller rejects it, then the money gets sent straight back to the buyer. And then once the buyer's satisfied that the seller's project's been sorted, a lot of the in between stuff will be sorted out on the website. And then once the buyer's like happy that's happened, then the money will get sent from the smart contract over to the seller. And then there's, so learning how to build all this infrastructure has really been interesting and sort of like opened up a whole host of other possibilities that we could do. So I think it's been really good for him. He's enjoyed it as much as he's had to pay him a lot of pizzas and burgers and takeaways and Indians and Chinese. But we've managed to make it work, so that's good. And yeah, it was looking how that's going to progress, and he's got a whole host of other ideas that he wants to do eventually. And he's going to help us with the smart contract for the festival as well. So as soon as he's finished this one, we're going to sketch up together a smart contract, like diagram of how it's going to work with like, because Leicester needs to get, because it's the AR festival in Paris is Leicester's project. That's he's getting investors on board. He's been organising the Blackpool, the OVR integration, and like I'll happily help him out, and I'm very grateful that he's been organising and bringing people onto my channels, my Telegram and my Discord, and it's been really good. But yeah, we're gonna build the smart contract, or at least we're gonna give it a go. Like it needs to get properly audited before I allow Leicester to be like, oh, okay, right. I need to protect my back. I like to protect my back, as anyone should really. So it's
especially in this space. There's so many scams, so much to look out for.
Yeah,
it's the Wild West. It's anarchy. There's no rules.
Yeah, definitely. There's no rules. But it's one of those that I've got. Well, I'm coming from a position of law. Like I've studied law. I've done like that. That's the area that if I wasn't doing this, I would go off to a big London law firm and I'd be like working in law. But I felt a little bit restricted just focusing on law. I feel like my capacities go beyond that. I've got the creative side, and I've also got like a bit of like the development side, and as well as the legal side. And so it's tech is definitely the area that I want to go in, because I can put all these ideas to good use. Like it's not just me and my family. My grandpa was the same. My grandpa used to design oil refineries, and apparently he was quite similar, and he's just a man of a million ideas, and sort of managed to get work at like a big institution and sort of travel the world and sort of thing. I think he worked in New York for a little bit, worked in India for quite a lot during the 80s and 90s, and just a bloke from England who did that. So anyway, we've got 1,000,001 avenues to go down, and it's just about being strategic about which ones we do and which ones are the best and which ones people will react to, and can we do it in a way that is both legally sound, that people actually receive the benefit that like we promise them, and actually like just you make the most of this opportunity of being right at the start to build both a future for myself, for the people around me, and for the community who are using it. Because as much as this is my business. It's nothing without the people, without you guys coming on and sort of like coming into the community. So especially because we've got two sides to build, if not three. We've got the businesses selling and we've got the businesses buying, and then we've also got like the creatives as well who are doing the design. So it's really important that we get this sort of balance right and like build out this community and sort of so like we're putting you guys at the forefront of what we want to do. Basically, we don't want to this goes beyond us. If this works out, we're going to benefit anyway. But hopefully we like all the businesses that are operating within the framework that we develop are building their own empires, and they're then generating like entertainment for everyone, or like for a whole load of people, or whatever their needs are. We just hope that we know, like that's why our percentage fees are so low, is because we're sort of trying to go for like mass adoption and like really just incentivize like mass usage of the platform, rather than just self-centered, like, oh, let's make a quick buck and dash, which a lot of people do, and like I understand the allure of that, but also it's not really for me. I want to build something that sort of like goes beyond me, that sort of like lasts the test of time, like
Yep.
sort of like it's like building a house. Like maybe like obviously DreamKollab is the one that I'm focusing on now, but it's going to go beyond DreamKollab. I've got like a 20-year plan of what I want to do, and more on that in 7 years when we do an IPO for DreamKollab. I'll announce the next projects, but for now I'll keep my mouth shut. Yeah, but it's great. We've got my journey for building a marketplace like this started 4 years ago. I've probably said this many a time on the podcast, and so if you've already heard it, then like tough luck hearing it again.
So
So it's my journey started about 4 years ago. Before that, I was like a graphic designer who wanted to go from graphic design into law, and it's a bit of a difficult stepping stone to get over there, but I managed to do it, which was great. But whilst I was in the intermediary, I went and did journalism at Sheffield, because they did like law, but they also would like accept me, and I felt like it'd be a good stepping stone. Learn a bit more, improve my public confidence in talking, improve my confidence in talking publicly, and sort of all this other stuff, which like learn all about like political systems, everything from like how like the inner workings of like the English political, all that sort of useless knowledge, which I'll probably never touch again, but like it's sort of like it's there in the back of my mind somewhere. And and so then I managed to move over, learn a bit of Chinese law, learn a bit of American law, and then really focused in on English law when I found out that a lot of the world operates on the English system, or at least it's taken up from or heavily influenced by like the English legal system. So then focused on that quite heavily, and so through that it's just like it will benefit me more if I stay like this, because in 20 years' time, I'll have built something that's stable, and I will have built something that I'm not running from. I'm there. It's making me an income or whatever, and making other people an income. Hopefully, I can plant enough trees, because if we can rent out every single location that's on OVR at some point, that's 1.6 trillion trees, which is a tree for every 20 meters squared on the planet.
Wow.
So it could but then for that you need like mass adoption, and that's
Right.
every 20 meters square, including like the entire Pacific, which I think could be used as like AR storage and that kind of thing. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, it could be interesting.
I got a question for you. Like, what is your vision for Dream Collab, like long term? What is it?
So at the moment-
Creatively and financially, what you want to do with it?
So Dream Collab at the moment is we've got this is our MVP stage, minimum viable product. So there's three. So you turn up. You've got an idea that you want to come into the metaverse, and you can master the metaverse simply with Dream Collab. So you got this idea. Maybe we'll even open up a section where other people you can like consult with other people to get ideas for your business. And then secondly, you go, right, okay, I'm going to find like an artist or a developer to build the creation for me. Whether that's like in shops to like a shopping assistant or whatever, or like art things or content creation or something for your kids birthday party even. And then you go over and you find the perfect location, like the rental. So you've got like the rental space of the rental in fiat in crypto, and then we also want to do like an exchange, run it like a real like estate agent sort of thing, where you can buy, sell, rent virtual reality lands, which are essentially I think the best way to say it is that it's broadcasting rights to those locations, just because a lot of people have raised the concern about, oh, what about the registered land, and like, oh, my house is here, da 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 da. There's no real like purchase of the land there. You've just got a broadcasting right, like a radio, to display on this really specific internet. Like, as we're all getting broadcasted via the internet every single day, so it's no different, apart from there's like a slight GPS location that sort of like ties the content to a specific location. So anyway, so
I love that take. I love that take. Okay, go ahead.
Broadcasting rights. So you're buying and selling these, and then you're renting out the things, and so then you've got a full comprehensive platform where, as someone who doesn't know the first thing about like the metaverse, or maybe know about the metaverse but you don't know the first thing about like how to build content, how to make it, you can go onto it and it's just really, really simple. Okay, I've got this idea, I need to get it built, I want to show it in New York, Tokyo, London and Madrid, or let's say. And it's like, okay, done. Bish bash bosh, boom, out there, finished. And then you've got like, you can either pay, and then with the development side, this comes back to like my days as a graphic designer and where the vision of building this marketplace really comes from. As we move beyond our MVP, I really want to implement like a 3-part structure. So I've sort of found that in every sort of like creative brief that I'm building something, there's 3 parts. You've got the idea, like the sketching, like getting like the rough drawings up and like getting that sort of approved. That's block 1. Then you've got the second part is like actually building it, and you've agreed, okay, this is the idea that we're going for, and this is like roughly what it's going to look like. Now the second block is like, okay, let's build this thing, and like the artist goes away or the developer goes away, builds it as best as they can according to the brief and the initial sketches, and then at that point you go back to the art, you go back to the buyer even, and you go like, oh, here we go, I've done this, and then they always have like final touches. So you got 3 blocks: idea, development, finalization. And then each of these blocks I'd like to apportion like a different weight of like value. And so I spoke with a lady who like studied, she's like a marketing expert, and she does like a lot of marketing stuff, and she studied at like Cambridge and all this sort of stuff. And we sort of came to the agreement that the block should be like ideas like weighted at like 30%. So if you both agree on like a concept that you like a sketch, then the seller immediately gets 30% of the payment. And then the second block is like of like completely like developing it, would be like an extra 40%. And because the final adjustments are always the biggest pain in the arse, and people always leave them, and like innovation really slows down. It's a bit like being at a restaurant and ordering desserts. Desserts are always the slowest thing to come. Um, and and then you just be like, okay, well, you get the last 30% once that's done, and then so the artist knows for a fact that they're getting paid throughout. They actually do get paid. Like after when they both click and be like accept sketches, boom, accept 40% payment, accept like the development, right? Okay, and we're on to the final stage of final touches, and so the artist isn't wasting any time because they know, okay, I've got to get this approved to move on to the next stage, and then the sellers getting what they want, and they can reject it. No, that's no skin off their back, and then if it falls through, it goes back. That's sort of like tilts the scale a little bit out of a little bit into the artist's favor, because at the moment with the structure of pretty much any like if you go on Fiverr or anything like that, you're like the buyer's in total control.
Yeah.
The buyer can you can finish off the project and get everything finished exactly what the buyer wants, and then the buyer goes, right, no, reject that, take the designs, I've disappeared, changed my email, and got disappeared into the night, and there's literally nothing that the artist can do. I'm sure I'm sure that sort of happened. Has that happened to you before, or maybe that's just like a graphic design artist thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely happened in film for commercials or interview type projects. I just stopped doing them after a while. It was just not worth my time and my effort, and I think the expectations of how it should work versus how it actually works is not real for the amount of money that you get paid, and it just I stopped. And I just focused on creative stuff. So, in the film world, it's the method you just described is, it's pre-production, production, and post-production.
Oh, okay, yeah, exactly. I feel like
Yeah.
I found it applies to like a lot of different areas. And I didn't know about the filming, but it seems to have worked there as well. So I like that. So she was right. She was right. And yeah, so hopefully as that's like the next step is after this, well, maybe before, we'll see how complicated it is. I've already raised it with our Solidity developer. Like, how easy would it be to do this? And he didn't seem too phased by it. So it's definitely, we're moving into that direction. And so maybe we'll either have the same maybe add it as like an optional extra, so that people have the option between having like a single package or like a 3-part package. Our wireframe was like the 3-part package was like as standard, and then with like an option to just do like get paid at the end. So I might probably continue on that, but at the moment, yeah, I want to move away from sort of like the Fiverr model and like pay at the end into this sort of like reframed version. Because I like it just makes more sense. It just suits the industry much more, and you're more likely to get paid. It just works. I just think it's way better for both parties. So at the moment with the fiat, we're going to do this in ADR. So in the dispute resolution center, it will be split up into 3 initially, whilst we set up. So essentially, like both parties will have to say at which point they were up to in the project. So if they say, oh, okay, we accepted the sketches, and you both click on that, and then the money gets sent over, and then if it disaligns, so that will be like the first port of call for the dispute resolution center. And then if it misaligns, then we'll have to like manually intervene and see what happens, see what's happening between the people, and like come to an amicable agreement. But using that sort of like 3-part process as a guideline to, but like a flexible one. So if it goes beyond like that's the framework that we're starting off with, and that's the framework that will guide us as we go. But obviously, if there's like each case will be different. There might be a lot of cases that are the same, but you've always got the outliers, and so it'll be using that framework. We'll just be able to bring it on and hopefully chat and stuff like that. Yeah, sort everything out, reduce, make everybody more content with this sort of role and being able to run their own businesses and get their own thing. And like obviously we're encouraging the artists to put it at a price point that they would be happy to do, and like also encourage the buyer, instead of trying to get the buyer to trying to get the artist to conform to the buyer's style or preference, is like we're really trying to encourage the buyer to pick an artist whose style they like, rather than trying to force an artist to do something that they're not comfortable with, or like that's just different. So that will really come into its own when we get a bigger community, and then try and find a way to like optimize for the creator. So like some sort of algorithm to find out what they like or something like that. We'll have to see.
Right.
And then yeah.
There'll be different styles and different abilities and different, focuses. I think another question for like the long-term vision of DreamKollab, do you see it as, is it going to stay focused as a marketplace for OVR, or maybe a marketplace for augmented reality in general, or what?
Yeah, so there's been quite a lot of talk about because I don't want to go into, like, we could go into the VR metaverse world and all this sort of thing, but I think keep it to augmented reality metaverse for now. So I've been looking at the other AR metaverses, and they're okay. They're like, you've got Superworld, AR Kona, and Spheroid Universe, but OVR is by far the best, the cleanest, the best looking, nicest at all this sort of thing. And it's, at the moment I'm rolling with OVR, and like they're in my eyes I see them as like the Bitcoin of this community, and then the other ones will come in and take its place. They're definitely the pioneers in my eyes. I think they were the first in terms of like getting everything out there. I'm pretty sure they were the first. So, and they're definitely the best at the moment. But like, yeah, hopefully I'm building the structure with OVR, and I'll continue to promote them, and I'm brand ambassador for them and this kind of thing, and it's fantastic. But my DreamKollab isn't we are a layer 2 for them, but we're not exclusively for them, if that makes sense. We are a layer,
Sure.
I want wholeheartedly, I want them to sell all 1.6 trillion of their lands for a minimum of $10, making them like at least 10 trillion pounds in turnover. Like I wholeheartedly want them to sell all of it, but that doesn't mean that I have to be part of that team. We're aligned in a very good way, and we both want the best for the AR community and the AR industry. But we are moving beyond OVR in terms of becoming a full augmented reality platform. Yes, we would like to start doing hardware as well at some point. That's been in the pipeline for a while now, and it's just getting the I feel a bit concerned drop shipping all the time and all this sort of thing. So I want it to be a high quality. I want it to like work, and I want it to be a good quality. So in terms of getting that sorted, it's looking like we'll probably do a partnership with another company and then onboard their products onto DreamKollab. So we'll have our own shop, but it won't be handled by me personally. It'd probably be a separate company who are coming in, and we're sort of organizing this whole thing at the moment. Yeah, because I think it'd be nice to like be able to, okay, you can come on, buy the equipment that you want, or have a separate platform that's heavily backlinked and like good links and stuff like that, and then just allow people to have access and have like hardware sort of store on the website, so that it becomes like an all-in-one shop for AR and just heavily focused on AR. Forget VR, just AR. We need just to keep that sort of like laser focus and not become overly broad. But I think there's definitely room within the focus that we've got right now of augmented reality metaverses for the hardware, like Bluetooth repeaters, glasses, like LiDAR scanners, like all these kinds of like iPhone 12s or 13s or whatever, whichever ones have the LiDAR scanners in them. There's definitely a space for that, and definitely probably a market that we can tap into with that. That would suit our brand and suit what we're trying to build and help the industry. But again, like this will come with time. Like I'm doing partnerships, and it's more. We've set up a separate company called Dreamlabs Electronic, which is going to be focused more on the hardware side. I've teamed up with, he works for Deloitte. I don't know if you know the company, but he's working with them, and he's coming up with a he's got a strategy, but I think it'll be one of those things where it's like a meet in the middle between two different companies, and like we both sell Christmas trees together, but he's like a lawyer / developer / all this for like big accounting firms like BDO. He's just left BDO and he's working at Deloitte now, but he's so yeah, we've got that coming through the pipeline. But it'll be a meet in the middle sort of thing. So we'll use my platform to help propel that marketplace, which will be split between the companies, and it'll be fully managed by his company. But as it grows, we'll be able to backlink everything, and like with Shopify and all this sort of stuff, we'll be able to link all the shops together. And so it's good. It's coming through. But yeah, things take time, and we're not exact like we've got resources, but we haven't got resources. We don't have like Facebook or anything like that. Resources. So it's really a balance in that. So yes and no. Immediate future in the no, in the greater future. In the next year or so, yes, hopefully. Does that answer your question?
It does. Wait, am I on mute? No.
No.
It does. The one statement that I found that was interesting, that I kind of want to try to understand, because in America, Superworld is way more popular than OVR. Like, as far as like the NFT space, like everybody knows about Superworld, but when I say OVR, nobody knows what I'm talking about. So I'm trying to understand why that is. Like, maybe it's a European versus American perspective at the moment. Because I know like OVR has done very well in France in particular, right? And I think Superworld has done very well in America. But it seems like there's a lot of land sold in OVR in America also. But yeah, I'm kind of curious as to why that is.
Yeah, so I OVR is an Italian company, so and they've got, I think it was Spain was like the largest adopter. France is doing very well. England's sort of getting there. We got a few, like getting like a few art collectives and like people in industry seem to be understanding it, but the actual public aren't quite there yet. But yeah, we're sort of moving towards it, and one of the ways that I want to frame the business is that this sort of like information will come in very valuable when we have like you'll have all these different eventually I'll need like a super world specialist, a OVR specialist,
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
I'll have to have like metaverse, like Mr. Metaverses or metaverse masters or whatever I want to call them. I don't know if there's probably not a real like job title for it yet, but like account managers basically.
You can create it.
Yeah, we'll
You can
come up
create
with
it.
something fun. And yeah, from using that we can have that, and then also like industry specialists. So like, let's say we want like the data says that I want to say Detroit, but where's like where makes cars in America now? Or okay, let's say Germany. So let's say Germany are on OVR, and don't like everybody's sort of adopted Superworld and adopted OVR, not Superworld, and then we get the industry specialist. So I get like my mechanic specialist or whatever, and I'd be like, right, okay, our target market, we know that 80% of AR metaverse users in Germany are all on the OVR platform. So I pick the OVR metaverse master, and then I pick the like engineering strategist, and then those two work together as a team in relay with the marketing department and development department to come to some sort of like campaign for like that specific region. So you can sort of like use it as like two part lens, like a telescope sort of thing, to really focus down. But like obviously this will come over time, and like these are just concepts that I've sort of been pitching to like industry specialists, but I'm nowhere near a position where I can do that yet. But the fact that you were saying like, oh, Superworld's super big in where you're from, but like
Well, I
OVR's
wouldn't
big
say
over
it's
here.
super big. I would just say I wouldn't say it's super big. I would just say that it's
More
more
well-known.
popular than
Okay.
OVR. Like at the moment, like it's just more well known. Their marketing. I don't know. Maybe it's also just like the NFT crowd that I'm listening to. You know, maybe I don't know.
Sorry,
But I know like a lot of the quote unquote veterans, which means 6 months in the space, but veterans of the NFT space don't seem to know what OVR is, but they all know what Superworld is. And for whatever reason that's true. I do know that sometimes Superworld will like sponsor events in Decentraland or in some other space.
Yeah. So Superworld's got quite big blocks, haven't they?
I
So
think
like
so,
if you buy something, you really like if you buy something there, you really start to dominate that sort of block and that quadrant.
Yeah, and it's like a few $100 versus
Yeah.
you know, like Overland's pretty cheap.
Yeah, which is good, and like because
Agreed.
like if this sort of framework is shifting over across, because it's on such a far back scale, your blocks could move, like if you've got like it in the middle of Central Park, it might move completely out of Central Park into like a big industrial area, even though you've paid for, well, I don't know, it just depends on what the GPS is like. But when I'd say this because Kebra did a research purposes. He's been investing into a lot of different crypto like metaverses.
Who has?
Have you met Kebra, or have you spoken to Kebra?
No, I have not.
Definitely worth
No.
having a chat with him. He's a Swiss fellow, great chap. Very involved, and has been since the beginning in all these metaverses. And he wrote a fantastic article about like his experience in each of these metaverses, and the way like his final result was that the smaller plots for cheaper are kind of better. They seem to be more like location specific, and we'd really have to see how these larger plots face, because I don't know. I suppose it's a double-edged sword, really. It's like what like you're gonna have like huge gaps in the metaverse if people have just accumulated a load and haven't done anything with it. It's like instead of having like the odd square, you're gonna have huge swarms of stuff. And also, it's like making things tied to specific locations. Like if you've got a huge block, like how do you monitor how it's opening up and overlapping the actual surroundings? Or yeah, so he came to the conclusion that a lot of smaller locations for cheaper is better. But time will tell. Like I'm open to all of it. Like I need to immerse myself more into Superworld, but I don't know. I can't really bring myself to spend like 200-300 quid on it. I don't know about yourself. Have you invested?
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. Like, yeah, it's a long-term investment.
Because with 200-300,
that needs a lot of work to make it like return the investment. But if I'm going to spend $200-300,
I want to spread my bet.
I'm honestly going to go invest in an NFT and flip it.
Yeah, I agree. I
Like,
feel like it's too expensive.
Yeah, and you know that's a lot of the lands are like that. Whether it be VR or AR or whatever, like a lot of the lands are pretty expensive. So
Yeah, I guess it's because they thought they weren't going to sell any. But yeah, but I think one of the things with Superworld is that because it's so expensive, they can't really reduce the price now because their first adopters paid so much. So their first adopters would be a bit pissed off if they then reduced it down to OVR's price, let's say.
right. Well, you know, if it's an investment, that's definitely in the realm of possibilities, right? Like it's the whole space is so volatile. You know, like I mean, Solana crashed last week.
Yeah.
The tech is volatile, let alone the marketplace.
Yeah. So the Solana crap. Sorry. Finish your point. I'll save this in my head.
No, go ahead. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. So the Solana crash. It crashed at 400,000 transactions per second. That's when it crashed.
Right.
On the market. Do you know how many transactions Visa does per second or claims to do?
Like 150? I think I read that somewhere.
I thought it was 200. It was 25,000 transactions a second. I'll double check it.
Oh, I mean, you could be right, but I remember reading a stat very similar to that, and it was a lot less than what Solana could do.
Okay, so
you know go ahead.
So here it says Visa, for example, handles 1,700 transactions per second, although Visa claims a whopping 24,000 transactions per second. A widely debated figure, but like if either of those are correct, then and then 150 million transactions per day. Yeah, but then 400,000 transactions a second is ridiculous. Like fair enough that they maxed out there. Like they're probably testing it to see it. Well, I don't know who was testing it. Someone was definitely like pushing it to its limit to see what would happen.
Well, you know, I think the NFTs on Solana exploded, and then what's the name of that metaverse? Star Atlas also exploded, and I think it just kind of crashed. Like I heard but it's strange because Ethereum supposedly, from my understanding, can do only 30 transactions per second. While Solana is supposed to do 70,000 transactions per second. But Ethereum's not crashing. Although the gas prices are expensive and it takes a long time sometimes for transactions to go through. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this all shakes out. I think in the end, like there might be a blockchain war, so to speak, but eventually it's just not going to matter because everything will cross chain and everybody will be friendly with each other and just have their own, I guess, identity in a way.
Yeah, we'll see how
You know,
we'll see
it
how
just
how it plays out because
it's like the interportability of various metaverses. Like they don't have to be none of these metaverses, Superworld versus OVR, it doesn't have to be competition. They can like work together on some levels and each one just has its own identity.
yeah, I
You
agree.
know?
But competition
Like
also drives innovation, and if they're all working together, then they can come together and monopolize, which stifles like the development and what we see. Um, because just but like it doesn't have like obviously it's great and all this, but it's great that you like the interoperability and stuff will be fantastic. That will definitely
yeah,
exist. Just like
well, 'cause
sorry, go ahead.
there will always be there will always be a space for competition because you're competing for users, you're competing for people's time,
Mm.
but there's no reason why they can't cross chain and people can have experiences on both sides. You know, or like people, you could do AR metaverses on or AR like some kind of AR festival like that are working together on both OVR and Superworld. You know, it's like the same, like different stages in a way. It's kind of like the whole, like, did you hear about the Metaverse Music Festival?
Yeah, is that the one that Hexadized is involved with?
Yeah, so they've got OVR, Decentraland, Cryptovoxels. Like, I don't know who else they have, but it's the same concept. All of them are working together. They're not,
Yeah,
they don't have to be battles, and then people just choose, you know, where they like to spend their time. It's the same thing like social media. Where do you like to spend your time in social media? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, like whatever else I may have missed, Snapchat, like
Oh, yeah, there's thousands.
yeah,
There are
exactly.
hundreds of
So it really goes into like where do you like to spend your time? Where do you have your friends? Where do your friends hang out? What experiences are there that you enjoy? I think the only real competition is when like two metaverses are trying to create the exact same type of experiences, then that becomes a battle. But if everybody's doing a little something different, there's a reason to go from one place to the other.
Yeah,
just like Instagram versus Twitter. There's a reason to go on both.
Finding a niche. Yeah, because Twitter's restrictive. I'm not a massive Facebook fan, but Instagram definitely. I like scrolling through, and even the difference between going on TikTok and Instagram. It's like
right.
There are like both have their good stuff and their bad stuff, and they sort of like they do overlap in the middle. You get a lot of TikTok content on Instagram and vice versa. So yeah, I totally get your point, and as long as it's not like just copying and stuff like that, then it'll be fine. But I feel like in terms of me and OVR, I'm just reaching a point now where like they've understood that I'm serious. They've understood that I've got stuff between my ears. I'm not completely clueless.
Right.
And they're sort of like understanding now that I'm not competition, and that they're trying to get them to treat me like a layer 2 project as opposed to competition. So we're starting to get there. It's been a process, like different, just like showing my loyalty to them and like just being honest with them as well. Like I do tell them when I think they've made a mistake, and I hope that they tell me when they think that I'm making a mistake. and sort of like giving like letting them use my skills for free to an extent. Yeah, and so just moving forward, and yeah, it should be all right, shouldn't it? It should be good. I've just time has absolutely flown. I don't know if you've had a look at the time, but we've been chatting
been
for
an hour and a half,
40 minutes
which
nearly,
is,
yeah, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It's been an awesome conversation. I've definitely enjoyed this. I enjoy just like really getting in deep with somebody about anything in this space. The only thing I'm not really deep into is like DeFi itself. Like I don't know a lot about those various aspects. My brain's more on the creative side, although I definitely take into consideration the financial side. But yeah, so I love digging deep like this. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I enjoy doing this, and I know some people like to listen. And hopefully it's just sort of like a catalogue, and people can come back and refer to it and enjoy it when we get a bit more traction. So, yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely see you on Twitter and Telegram. And Artobotics and I are actually going to be doing a regular Twitter Spaces on Thursday morning. Well, Thursday morning for me. I think it's like 6 p.m. for him. He's in Scotland. So I don't know what time it is. Where in England are you?
I'm based in Manchester.
Okay, what time is it in Manchester right now?
6:37.
Okay, yeah. So around 10 a.m. my time and 6 p.m. your time, Artobotics and I are going to be doing like a regular Twitter Spaces just to talk about his projects and OVR and just kind of like whatever else kind of naturally comes up. But we're going to be doing on Twitter Spaces on Thursday mornings. So anybody listening, be sure to check it out. Or DreamKollab, obviously, we'd love to have you.
Definitely. I'll try and make myself possible. I try and do these podcasts as much as I can, but they are very time consuming. It's nice when I'm able to just chat off the top of my head instead of preparing for it. But I don't like going in empty handed into one of these, because then I don't feel like the quality of like conversation is it's not always great. So, but I feel like this conversation's been fantastic, and I'll continue to do these podcasts as much as possible. But there's other priorities that I need to focus on to actually make this more than like a marketing, actually make it into a proper industry and all the rest of it. So thank you for coming on. I'm gonna have a shower and go and enjoy my Saturday evening. Don't know about yourself. What have you got any plans for this evening?
I'm like all about NFTs right now, so I've got a lot of work I'm doing there, and then I'm probably gonna go hang out with my girlfriend for a little while. It'll be a chill Saturday.
Nice.
And then Sunday, tomorrow, I gotta go see my parents.
Oh, nice.
But,
yeah, definitely need a bit of family time. I think I see my dad on Tuesday, which will be nice. So, yeah, fantastic. Well, see you around, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Okay, bye.
Cheers, bye.